Bitcoin is the only option that we have. It's the only choice. It's Bitcoin or bust. So in this video, I'm going to tell you a little story about what played out today, what led me here. It's Saturday night. I don't know what day or time you're watching this, but it is Saturday night, and I'm enjoying a Guinness. So let me tell you exactly what happened today, what led us here, and why I think that this is going to be the most important video that I ever make, truly. So this afternoon, I made a video for our day 226, I think, of 365. So every day this year, I've been making a 10 or 15 minute video about Bitcoin, 365 days of Bitcoin. And what I talked about, I shared a little Excel spreadsheet, a little graphic comparing Bitcoin and fiat. And I think that there's too many people out there right now who think of Bitcoin as like an investment or a speculative investment. Sorry, you're gonna have to forgive me here. I had a beer on the live that I did with Rajat, and we have another beer cooking right now. So cheers to you. But people think of it like that. They think of it as an investment, when really people should be thinking about this as a savings account and a way to store your time and energy, whatever you have left at the end of the month, at the end of the week, whatever that is, after you get paid from your job or your business, whatever that is, you put that into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a savings account. And so I think that it's very fair to compare Bitcoin and fiat. I think that that's the most important comparison that we can make. And so we have all these different phrases around Bitcoin, why people are still ignoring it, why they don't want to spend more than 5 minutes looking into it or thinking about it. Because we've had a 16-year negative marketing campaign against Bitcoin from the media, the governments, the central banks, the people who do not want Bitcoin to succeed. And we're going to see why they don't want Bitcoin to succeed here. So I made this video. I talked about a couple different phrases that people use, but then I compared it to Bitcoin through a Bitcoin lens. And one of those is that Bitcoin is used by criminals. So first thing I'm going to do here, so that was the first video that I did this afternoon. I did the live with Rajat after. We didn't talk about any of this stuff. But now it's Saturday night. I saw this video come up on my feed, and I was compelled to make this video right now. And it's 7 minutes long. I couldn't believe how good this video was and how relevant it was to exactly where my mind is right now and why I think it's so important to get this message out there to not only just Bitcoiners, but people who are kind of on the fence or have an open mind towards Bitcoin. So I want you to, I don't ask much on this channel, but I want you to consider sharing this video. I'm going to keep it as short as I can, but I want you to share this with any friends and family members who maybe you've heard say some of these Bitcoin phrases before, like Bitcoin is too slow, Bitcoin's used by criminals. What if it goes to zero? We're going to watch this video and then we're going to talk about a few other things afterwards. So let me bring this up. I have no idea who this guy is. No idea at all. But his message here is very important. Like I said, I think this is going to be the most important video that I have made to date and potentially ever, because this is a big deal. Yes, it's fun to watch the price of Bitcoin in fiat terms go up. Yes, it's cool to be able to send value through a QR code to anybody else on this planet with an internet connection without anybody's permission. Yes, that's cool. But there's something much more at stake here than that. And so I want you to listen to this. I'm not going to interrupt because this is good. So without further ado, here we go.
Thank you. I just really appreciate that. Can I swear for a moment? Do you mind?
Oh, of course.
All right. So just everyone get ready. Don't try and nap to this next part. So in general, when people say, but criminals use Bitcoin, it's like, what the fuck do you think funds war? Are you insane? Criminals? Oh no, somebody bought some weed with Bitcoin. Oh no, that's terrible. What do you think is funding war? Not Bitcoin. Fiat. Fiat is funding war if you're concerned about criminality. Cursed be the warmongers who rely on fiat. Blessed be the peacemakers. who rely on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is peace. You can't just print it and create it and steal it to fund your endless...
All right, I said I wasn't going to interrupt, but you know me. This is going to be the last time I interrupt, though, because I want to say two important things there. Did you hear when he started talking about this? He said, what funds war? Fiat. And the guy, whoever's interviewing him here, started kind of laughing. I don't really see what's funny about that. I think that, well, I don't need to get too far into that. So that's one thing. This is a serious video. I like to have a lot of fun on this channel and on the live shows, but there's nothing funny about war. There's no reason for war. And the other thing I want to say here is kind of close to the 4 or 5 minute mark. He starts making some comparisons to religion and Jesus. And I never talk religion on this channel, but this is something that I can definitely resonate with. And so I want you to stick around just for that, because I've heard this come up several times in my journey here so far. And a lot of people I talk to have this spiritual connection with Bitcoin, and they see it as like a religious thing. And I think that this is why. When you hear the story that he tells about Jesus and money, what does he call them? Money exchangers, something like that. But that's the most important part here. So if you're bored after 1 minute, please stick around, listen to this whole thing, because this is head to toe very important.
endless fucking bloodthirsty wars. Fiat is war. Fiat is theft. Fiat is intergenerational predation. That's all it is. Fiat is counterfeiting. It's Bitcoin or bust. Because the warmongers who paper cut and sever the carotid artery of mankind with the endless money printing quake and fear before Bitcoin because it takes the guns out of their hands. You can't just print money, buy soldiers, and make a war. Bitcoin is peace. Fuck making your 150% a year, that's fine. Bitcoin is peace. Gold is not peace, because gold could be stolen. Bitcoin is the end of aggressive wars. Now, if you've got a Bitcoin community and someone's about to invade them, they'll all donate to keep their houses and their Bitcoin and all of that. So it's defensive wars you can fund with Bitcoin. Fuck you, disassemble human beings by the hundreds of thousands wars you cannot fund with Bitcoin. So all the people who, oh, Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme, this, that, and the other, is like, it stops war. The 20th century disaster was world wars funded by fiat fucking currency. It's serious stuff. It is human disassembly time by the hundreds of millions. 250 million people slaughtered by their own governments. How did those governments afford all of that slaughter? How did they pay all their soldiers? Fiat! World War I was extended for years through fiat. Fiat caused the Great Depression, which significantly propelled mankind into World War II. America shipped all the weaponry over to Russia for the communists to have a revolution. How was it paid for? Through fiat. Fiat will kill us if we don't replace it. Repeat after me, brothers and sisters. Fiat will kill us if we don't replace it. It is a vampire, bloody noose around the neck of mankind. We better get fucking serious about this. So if you meet people who are like, oh, Bitcoin, I need up my... Fuck that! You want your kids to grow up in a world where there's a shred and semblance of the potential for human peace? Where their entire lives aren't going to be stolen while they sleep by the endless money printers and blood-soaked squid tentacles of the central bankers? You want them to be sold on the auction block of foreign banksters so the politicians can bribe and buy votes in the here and now? They can't do that with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the second coming of the Prince of Peace, people. It's not a choice. It's the only life raft we have to get away from the ancient, aged predation of the money printers, the money lenders, the money manipulators, the interest rate parasites, all of them, the entire fucking lot of them. I was doing an interview today with BTC Sessions, Nathan, and Jesus forgave thieves, murderers. Jesus forgave those who were nailing with the equivalent of railway spikes his hands and his feet to a cross, watching him to hang for days while he bled out. He forgave them. Jesus used no violence except in one instance. And the violence that Jesus used in the one instance was who? The money changers in the temple, the money manipulators, the money controllers, those who enslave mankind with the manipulated golden noose of centralized bullshit political government currency. We either survive fiat or fiat ends us. It ends our freedoms, it ends our lives, it ends our societies. It's Bitcoin or bust. And it's very serious stuff, my friends. Very serious stuff. So do not have mercy on those who scorn the orange salvation of the planet. I'm not talking Trump. The orange pill is the opposite. Like the red pill leads to the black pill. Hopefully that leads to the orange pill, which is the hope at the bottom of the chest of demons that keeps us going. I can't imagine what it would be like facing the future in the absence of Bitcoin. It would be a slow slide down to eternal tyranny, because the free market has delivered unto governments the technology to enslave us forever. That same technology can liberate us forever. But you better get behind the orange man. It's funny, I mean, to labor the analogy a little bit too excessively, do you know that more British sailors were killed by scurvy than were killed by enemy cannon fire or swords or pirates? The salvation of the British Navy and the founding of the British Empire was orange. It was oranges. It was vitamin C, it was citrus. And the salvation of us will also be orange. Satoshi's beautiful godchild, the new orange prince of peace, Bitcoin. Bitcoin or bust. Carve it into your chest. All right, thanks, man. I appreciate the call.
Hell yeah, brother. Thank you. Thank you. I'm buying some Bitcoin right now in homage to this.
All right, thanks, man.
Crazy true. It's hard to imagine a world where Bitcoin didn't exist. You know, and that's what led me here. I remember back in 2019, 2020, that era. I was a different human being, honestly, truly. That person's dead and gone. But I remember learning about how the world works, how the central banks work, how fiat dollars are created and used to fund everything that's wrong in the world. And then I started connecting some dots and saying, okay, well, this issue with society is caused by what? Fiat. This issue in society is caused by what? Fiat. And I was very, very, very depressed and very, the black pill, that's what you call the black pill. Somebody who knows the truth about the world and has zero hope for the future. And it wasn't until Bitcoin, until my whole life changed direction, flipped around. Like everything else, Bitcoin flips everything on its head, including my life, my journey here. So I want to go through a few of these. I know that this is kind of not as relevant, but I want to rip through a few of these because I do think that this is important when you're talking to people, your friends, your family, and they have these different phrases of why they're still ignoring Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was created by the government. That's one of the famous phrases of why people don't own Bitcoin. Okay, maybe it was. Maybe it was. But one thing we know for sure is that fiat was created by the government. Fiat is still controlled by the government. The government and the central banks have the ability to create more fiat. We know that for sure. I don't know if it's a 50-50, 90-10, 70-30 chance that Bitcoin was created by the government. It doesn't matter. Fiat was. We know that 100% for sure. We don't know if Bitcoin was. Another one, the anonymous creator of Bitcoin might move his coins around. Yeah, he might. He might. But that has zero impact on Bitcoin, because you know what Satoshi can't do right now? He can't create more Bitcoin. And even if he tried to, everybody else around the world running a Bitcoin node right now would decide not to use that ledger anymore. So yes, Satoshi might. He might move his coins. He hasn't, but it would still have no impact on Bitcoin. In fact, those Bitcoin might actually end up, those sats might end up in the hands of people like you and me. Next one here, could go to zero. Of course it could. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend that I have all the answers and I have a crystal ball and I can see in the future where there's no chance of Bitcoin going to zero. Of course it can, but it hasn't. I think it's survived the hardest part of this discovery here so far. It hasn't gone to zero. It's only gone up in comparison to fiat. And we do know one thing for sure when we're comparing this to fiat. We do know 100% certainty, 100,000 million quadrillion % for sure, fiat is going to zero. $37 trillion worth of debt that will never be repaid. Fiat currency is going to zero. Everything's going to get more expensive in fiat. Everything's going to get cheaper in Bitcoin. As Jeb Booth says, as long as it stays decentralized and secure. So yes, all of these are kind of risks within Bitcoin, but on the flip side in fiat, they're certain. Fiat was controlled by the government. The government can create more fiat. Fiat is going to zero without a doubt, no questions. It's used by criminals. I mean, we just watched a 7-minute video about that narrative. Criminals using Bitcoin to buy weed or mushrooms or whatever that may be. They also they still might helicopter pallets of cash to different parts of the world to make sure that their dominance remains. Plus, only the dumbest criminals on the planet would use an open and transparent ledger that anybody, including this 3-letter agencies, the government, law enforcement, that everybody can see. Why would you choose to use that over something that you can literally exchange without anybody knowing? So yes, it's probably used by criminals, but they are dipshits, criminals. It's too slow. So all three of these kind of tie together. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I think it's aside from the point of the serious nature of this video. It's too slow. Number one, you're never going to use Bitcoin layer 1 for everyday transactions. You're never going to go to a restaurant and pay with Bitcoin on layer 1. You have to understand that there's different layers of Bitcoin. Layer 1 is the foundation, the secure network. Bitcoin, it's slower. It's a little bit more expensive, but we're never going to use that for everyday transactions. That's why things like Lightning, Liquid, eCash, and plenty more to come exist. So you can use it on top of Bitcoin, but we still need the foundation, the base layer, which is layer 1. Transaction fees are too high. So just going back to the it's too slow part as well there, here's what you have to consider. In the future, we're going to be paying for things in Bitcoin, but it's going to be on a different layer. And so if you go into a restaurant right now and you got your meal and you tapped your card, it seems instantaneous to you, the person who just ate at that restaurant. But the business owner, the person who owns the restaurant, they actually don't see that money for about 2 or 3 days, best case. So to me, that's pretty slow. And with Lightning, you're gonna have the exact same experience tapping your phone, except the difference there is that the restaurant owner is actually going to get that Bitcoin or those sats instantly, instant settlement. So yes, layer 1 is too slow, but that's going to be used for something like a bank wire. Whatever we use bank wires for today, that's going to be what we use layer 1 for in the future. And you can actually get a transaction through in about 10 minutes, maybe less. Bank wire, I think, takes about 6 hours. There's a million different people involved in that process, and it's expensive. Whereas you could send $10 billion over the Bitcoin network to anybody without anybody's permission. Try sending $10 billion of fiat anywhere. Think about how long that would take, how expensive that would be, how many documents you would have to sign. You can do that yourself with Bitcoin. And if you only have one chunk of Bitcoin there, one UTXO, that might cost you like 50 cents to move $10 billion. Transaction fees are too high. Both of these two are 100% user errors. If you're paying high transaction fees on the Bitcoin layer 1, you haven't set yourself up, you haven't managed your sats properly in order to minimize the fees that you pay, to optimize your transaction fees. That's on the user. That has nothing to do with Bitcoin. That is poor UTXO management. And if you don't know what that is, I highly suggest you take a look into UTXO management. I have the 365 days of Bitcoin course that I talked about right at the start. I spent like 5 or 6 episodes talking about UTXOs because they are very, very important to understand. And I'm going to put a link in the show notes and in the pinned comments for the 365 days of Bitcoin course for you. And people lose their Bitcoin every day. Once again, this has nothing to do with Bitcoin. This has everything to do with people either moving too fast or not fully understanding how to manage their private keys and secure them properly. Nothing to do with Bitcoin. So you also have to remember that in the fiat system that we come from, that we're moving away from right now, hopefully, people think that, just because your fiat, your dollars are safe in the bank. I'd say to that, if everybody tried going to the bank at the same time to withdraw their money, what do you think would happen? Do you think it's safe? Do you think you'd be able to get it? And people also don't factor in how much they pay in fees. How much does your bank charge you every month for bank fees? For things like this, if you were to lose your money or do a chargeback on one of your transactions, you can't do chargebacks in Bitcoin either. That's the other part of the reason why businesses will accept Bitcoin in the future. But you pay for that. You pay for that in fees. You pay for that in insurance. You pay for that in a lot of things. We're just so used to paying this stuff to have that safety net in the fiat system. So you take full responsibility here. You take full sovereignty. You have the ability. You don't need anybody's permission. And most importantly, every single dollar that you take out of that system and you put into Bitcoin, that starves them. And that's our only play here. Bitcoin is a peaceful revolution. It's happening slowly, but we have the ability to accelerate that. Again, every dollar that you have, don't think about this as an investment. You don't have to take out 100% of your, or even 50% of your portfolio. You don't have to sell your rental house. You don't have to do anything. Just take whatever you earn, whatever you have in excess, and put that into Bitcoin. That's all you have to do. And you will be part of this peaceful revolution that is Bitcoin. Eventually, you're probably going to move to 50% of your portfolio once you start understanding what's happening here. And then maybe 60, 70, 80. And then if you're anything like me, you will completely withdraw yourself from that fiat system that has caused so much pain and suffering. Every time you look around and you see something wrong in society, that stems back to the ability of a small group of people being able to create money. That's the whole problem here. And I understand that people have these negative connotations around Bitcoin, and that is on purpose. That is by design, because the central banks, the governments, the media, they do not have the ability to stop this thing. All they can do is throw bullshit at it. And that's what they've done. And the people who have spent 0 hours learning about Bitcoin and studying what this asset is and why it's so far superior to everything else that exists, they don't get it. All they have is these narratives floating around. They might pick them up on CNBC or CBC or Fox News or wherever. Their coworker. They haven't spent any time understanding what this asset is. All they cling to is those narratives that are just complete bullshit. So I challenge you today, every dollar in excess of your expenses every month, if you are fortunate enough to have money in excess of your spending and your expenses every month, put it into Bitcoin. You don't need much. Even if it's $5 a month, you're voting. Every time you take money from the fiat system and put it into Bitcoin, you are part of this peaceful revolution, and it is the only thing that can save us. So I apologize. This is one of the more serious videos I've ever done, but this is serious. So I hope you have a great day. cheers to you. Thanks for getting through this. Hopefully you made it this far. And my co-host and I, Arnie Boy, are signing off. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Bye-bye.